Okay, welcome everyone. This is the resident informational meeting for 204 Oxford. We do have the builder online, Chris Conlon. Chris, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? And then we can maybe open it up for review of the plans. And then any questions. This can be kind of a conversation here. We'll have an opportunity for everyone to introduce themselves, say where you live when you do speak, please, so that Chris can get to know our neighbors. And we'll, you know, allow for any sort of questions, and this can take as long as you all want. So we'll start there. Chris, take it away.
My name is Chris Conlon. I'm the owner and president of CM Conlon Contractors and Builders. We have been in business for 35 years and have built hundreds of homes in Montgomery County over the years. Look forward to building in the town or the village.
Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen of the site plan. Has everyone gotten a chance to see the site plans? I know I've sent them around a couple times, but okay. This is the site plan. Chris, do you want to go ahead and walk us through what the house looks like that you're planning on building here?
Are you saying from the site plan or from the architectural view?
This is the site plan, I believe.
Yeah, so I mean, it's obviously designed to fit the land. There's some retaining walls in the rear. It is a basement with two-story, 5 bedroom, 4.5 bath, or 5.5 bath total home. Traditional, should fit in very nicely with the neighborhood.
And you do have a garage, correct?
One car garage, yes.
Garage. Okay, great. Is there anything else you would like to talk about?
No, I'd probably be easier to answer questions. I mean, I could talk forever about what we do, but maybe it's easier to answer if anybody has any questions specifically what we're doing.
Sure, we can open it up. Does anyone have any questions about this project?
Well, Michael, could I start? This is
Sure,
Katie.
Katie.
So we don't have like an actual visual of the house to show tonight, do we? Or
I do not have any
okay,
visuals from a side view. No.
okay. Well, Mr. Conlon, thank you for attending this resident informational meeting tonight. But it appears we've gotten off on the wrong foot, but hopefully, how you start will not reflect how you finish this project at 204 Oxford Street. I also hope we can rectify the situation soon as possible, as the state of the current site, it looks like, I mean, not to joke, but the set of Saving Private Ryan right now. And not to mention, it's a little embarrassing and a depressing eyesore. I'm the chair of the Village of Martin's Additions Council, and I've been embarrassed how the site has looked for well over a month, not to mention the potential danger to people walking by it. So I'm unaware if your company is built in the VMA previously, but I'm aware that our codes are stricter overall. And I ask you to please, going forward, respect the VMA permit process and building rules, our village staff, and just please be mindful of the neighboring residents who will be impacted the most during the construction. I mean, that said, of course, best of luck with the project and process. I'm looking forward to the final result. I wish I could see a visual tonight. That's okay. I'm sure it will enhance the neighborhood. And I'm going to now turn it over to if there's any council colleagues or the residents.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I appreciate your comment. I don't know how much information you've been getting as the chair, but we did not authorize that home to be torn down. We only sent the house out for bid to our normal excavation and concrete contractor. That was an internal mistake in their office. I've been doing this for, again, 35 years. It's never happened to us. Again, it would be like your home getting vandalized. So it was not a decision on my office. my staff, or anyone in my office. So we would never do that. There's no reason for us to do that. It would only impede our progress. So I am very sorry it happened, but it was not any fault of ours.
Okay, well, thank you. I understood, and thank you so much for the clarification. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I agree, it's horrible. I've actually asked numerous times to be able to clean up the site at least, but I've been told I can't until this was done.
Understood. Thanks.
Yeah, and I see Elizabeth Goldberg or Jeffrey Goldberg. You're muted.
Leaving aside the architectural plan and the front walk, I have to say that at this point, we need a fence so young people don't go hopping around the area, cutting themselves on glass. As I have Parkinson's, I have to park the car and do a dance to get to my own sidewalk, which has remained unfixed for 10 years. So what I would like is please fence the area in because I think it's unfair to the neighbor next door. And as far as Katie is concerned, they cut down a tree, which we're unaware whether the tree that's a willow tree which soaks up water has been cut down or not. And
We have not cut down any trees that were not.
okay.
Yeah, I have two other questions. My name is Elizabeth Goldberg, Mr. Conlon. Nice to meet you. Let's see. One of them has to do with, yeah, I mean, in that torrential rainstorm we had about a month ago, the gravel that had been deposited in the front of the property started to wash down the street. So it's all along the gutter, practically down to the corner, and it makes it a little difficult to park the car on that side. And you know, gravel's a little sharp too, so it might be a bit of a hazard for the tire. So I'm wondering if that could, in the meantime, if that could be scooped up and put back, and somehow what you've got there, your gravel pile, retained in some way so it doesn't happen again with the next rain. Then the other question was, what is the timeline? Do we know when your construction will actually, or the rest of the demolition and construction will start? Is there any precise date now?
I am only waiting for town permits. As soon as they are released, I will get that site cleaned up. And I would never have left this site this way again. This was not our doing, and it's very unfortunate for everybody. I'm more embarrassed than you are.
Okay.
But the gravel, I'd be happy to get the cleaned up. I have no problem.
All right.
Again,
much appreciated.
We've just been given a stop work, so we've been told not to do anything on the site, unfortunately.
And let me clarify something as well. This resident informational meeting is the last requirement before we can issue our permits in the village by village code. So after this meeting, I will go ahead and draft up and have Chris sign the permits, which will then be posted on the site. And there's a couple permit conditions on the back of all of our permits. Those include things like keeping the site and the street clean, as well as tree protection plans. You'll see this tree in front of the house right along Oxford. That will be fenced in before construction can begin. And then we will have, you know, work starting. So that's kind of the process here. And we're moving as quickly as we can. I'm glad we were able to schedule this meeting finally. And yeah, there is currently a stop work order on place. Once I showed up on a Wednesday morning and saw half the house was gone, I issued that same morning. But I will also lift that stop work order, you know, as a result of this meeting. And then Chris can get started.
And we will get the house cleaned up immediately. So as soon as we're able to, I'll have somebody out there immediately and get that mess cleaned up.
And there's a couple other permit conditions and rules in our code that I'll familiarize you with, Chris, if you're not already, including, you know, construction vehicles cannot be left overnight on the village streets. Dumpsters are never to touch the street, those types of things. And also, we get a lot of questions about parking. Parking is pretty limited. So if there's anything you can do to minimize the amount of people that are, construction workers and stuff that are parking on the street, maybe even parking them on site if you can. That would be greatly helpful. And then we have a lot of issues with water runoff, especially on Oxford. There's a long history here. So maybe you can talk about, I see several berms and water drainage notes on this site plan, as well as dry wells and trees. And again, we don't have anything to tell you what you can and can't do with these trees that are on your private property, though we do in the public right of way, of course. So you want to talk about the drainage plans and the parking situations?
So the house, well, the parking situation, we'll park obviously as much as we can on site, and then try to utilize the street parking in front of the house and not impact the neighbors. As far as the drainage plan, the house is almost a net zero drainage with the dry wells. It captures all the roof water coming off of that house. What is coming off of that lot when I am done is less than what is there now.
And then again, that's based on the county calculations, correct?
Yeah, the civil engineer and the county calculations.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And okay, I'll open it up. Is there any other questions from residents or neighbors?
Hi, this is Kate Ratty and Dave Schulman. We live directly next to the property at 160 Quincy. And I did have a question, actually, when I'm looking at this plan, if you freeze it in that spot, there's kind of a little triangle of space between the wood fence on our property and then where the dotted line is of this property's property line. And I'm curious, along there it says proposed fence with gate. So I'm curious where the gate would be and what that little strip of land in between would look like.
Where is it saying proposed fence with gate? I know we have a fence or fencing on top of the retaining wall, but that's on our property.
Yeah. If you look right, sort of, I mean, it's hard for me to describe. There's the tree that's on my wood fence right there. Right
Yes.
above that says proposed fence with gate. Directly above that, right there.
I don't know why that's there, other than I honestly don't know why they have proposed fence with gate. There's a retaining wall there. You'd have to jump up on top of a wall and go out a gate.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an arrow missing to show that there's a gate off to gating off your side yard or something.
Yeah, we didn't propose any gating and any fencing to the side yard. So I think that might be in a room. I don't know. I don't know why he has that. Unless, do you have a gate there by any chance?
No, we don't. So that's why I was kind of confused as to how.
Yeah, I understand why you would be. I don't know why. So I didn't propose any gate there. Again, it would be an odd place to put a gate. So
Okay.
especially going into your yard, we wouldn't certainly.
Yeah. So that you're not going to touch, obviously, the wooden fence at all is my
No, well, we met over the summer.
Yeah, we had talked. And at that point, we mistakenly thought that the property line was the wooden fence, but it turns out it's not.
It's not. It's over some.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now
So that's why I think things kind of changed from our perspective. Before we thought that the fence was, on the property line, and now we know that actually it's our property. So I think that was why I was confused when it said proposed fence with gate.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I don't know why the note's there, but we certainly there would be no reason to put a gate there.
Okay. So then, just so I'm clear, there'll be a retaining wall where it says there is, and then there will be nothing aside from the wooden fence that already exists on my property.
I believe we need to put, for the county code, a small fence there.
Okay.
Just because there's a wall there.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of picture how it was going to be. Okay. All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks. No, we had talked. I assume you still want to remove the tree that's dying.
Yeah. So the thing is, I don't think it's actually dying. But there had been some question as to whether it needed to be removed, because I thought that was your, property. But actually, since it's all on our property, I'm not sure. Hold on one second. Yeah, we're definitely not in any way clear we want it removed.
Okay.
Because that's kind of different now that it's all entirely on our property line.
It's just the canopy is so weighted on the other side when we remove the canopy again, and there's a big chunk out of it. But that whatever you want to do is fine with me. I just trying to keep it safe.
So you would have to remove the canopy?
What's overhanging our property? Yeah, it's hanging into the house.
It never, okay, well, hold on. Maybe we could look at it and have somebody give us some assessment on that, because my understanding was the house wasn't going to be any higher than the previous house, and it never hung into the previous house.
Yeah, I'm happy to meet with you again. We can meet
Yeah.
on. That might be more clear for everybody, for both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kate, let me know if you want me to be a part of that meeting. Trees on private property are an issue between neighbors, and the village does tend to stay out of those issues. But I'm happy to be there and help in any way I can. And you are talking about that white oak right here, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think since our conversation in the summer, there was some concern that had been brought to our attention about how much water that tree soaks up. And so there was some other neighbors in the community that were concerned about how that would affect drainage of water underneath, given the problems that happened. I'm trying to remember the name of the street number of the house that was built recently on Quincy, but there seemed to be so many issues with the water issues after that property was built.
151 Quincy is what you're
Yeah.
referring to.
Yeah. And so
where were the water issues, on the street or on the?
I honestly don't feel comfortable. I don't know enough details to tell you what happened, but long and short of it was, my understanding was that they removed things or dug too deep or somehow hit. Maybe somebody else on the call knows more than I do. Elizabeth, do you know more than I do about this? But the issue was more about my concern about this particular tree was how much water it soaks up and the root system, and removing all of that, how that would negatively impact water absorption and then create a problem with water runoff and such going into other people's yards.
I was just going to say, I'm brand new to the storm water task force, so I'm still reading up on it and what's been done. So Michael would probably know actually what the issue was, but I think it had to do with the groundwater, natural spring or streams underneath, and they dug too deep, and the groundwater sought its level, and it just kept bubbling up. It was there to greet us every morning when we walked by, even after they had dumped tons of gravel into it, to try to fill it.
One of the neighbors is from Djibouti, who like my son-in-law, and so he showed us the apartment and the water problem, and the workers who work there were from Salvador, and in Spanish they told me nothing could stop this water from spilling out, and so the house has remained an empty shell, basically.
No. I think they had to put in extra sump pumps or something, but they're probably going.
Yeah,
that raises a point. We have kids going to Hebrew school, the French school, private schools down, and they come sailing down the street on roller skates, whatever. And as Katie knows, even prom, we have prom people, right, going back and forth. So the question is, what do we do with the lighting on Brookfield Road? We have a terrible light. And Oxford Street is much the same. So, you don't want to put a damper on the kids, but all of a sudden trees come down and nobody tells their neighbors. So there's got to be another stop sign to slow this traffic down. And then you have the Harley Davidson crew, which buzzes around the neighborhood, making all sorts of noise. And with a guy with a muffler on a car that sounds like a machine gun. So,
Those are concerning issues there, Jeffrey. But I don't think they're quite related to 204 Oxford and their building permits. So let's carry on those conversations at a later time. For now, Kate, do you feel comfortable moving on from talking about this tree, this white oak on your property?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank
And I do see a couple trees that are kind of in the backyard that are planning to be removed. Is that what the X means there?
Yes,
But the trees across the back property line, which is not the village back here behind you, those trees are remaining, correct?
yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, as far as I'm concerned, this project meets the village code, and I've gotten confirmation from our building permit administrator, Doug Lohmeyer, that I know you've worked with before, that this does meet the village code. So all of my concerns are addressed. Are there any other resident questions or issues at hand? Going once, going twice. Okay. Elizabeth again.
What hour does work begin in the morning? Is 8 o'clock?
7 o'clock.
Seven?
That'll be on the back of the permit as well. Yeah, and that's in the village code. Work hours. It does change for the weekends, and we are slightly more strict than the county, but not by much.
So 7, okay.
What is it
Yeah.
on the weekends? Out of
I-
curiosity.
It's 9. It moves to 9 as a start time on weekends. Yeah.
Thank
I don't have the code in front of me, so I can share those out with everybody so that everyone's aware, and I'm sure Chris will do a good job of keeping his subcontractors in line with our code, which is a little more strict than the county. So Chris, just kind of keep that in mind, that if any of your subcontractors are used to working in the county but not the village, sometimes there's some confusion there. But we'll do the best to educate everybody involved. So
They're very familiar with the 7 a.m. start. What is the end time?
It's 7 to 7, I
Yeah,
believe. Again, don't quote me. We'll go over this when you come in to sign the permits in the next couple of days. So
Yeah, most of the time everybody shuts down by 5. So typically 5 o'clock everyone's done.
awesome. That's great. That's great. Chris, did you have a timeline for like when you were planning to be done? I know you're trying to start as fast as possible, but how long did you expect this project to take?
It takes about 4 to 5 months to completely build the home.
That's quicker than some other builders in the village. So I think everyone's happy to hear that. And okay, I think that's it.
Maybe a little longer going through the winter. I'm thinking about it.
And can we, do you feel comfortable with us sharing your contact information with your adjacent neighbors, just in case if there is any issues? I understand you've already met with some of them, but is it okay if we throw out?
Absolutely. I'm happy to talk to anybody. And obviously we want to work through this and make everybody comfortable. I mean, it's not fun having a house built next to you. I realize that. So
Right. Okay, great. I appreciate that. Any other final comments by anyone? Katie, you're our sole council member on the call, so thank you for joining us. Did you have any final words?
No, I just, I wish Chris and his crew the best of luck. I didn't mean to, wag my finger at him. I appreciate the update, and, again, best of luck with this process and project. And thank you for being so responsive to the residents and sharing your contact information. Thank you.
no problem. Thank you.
That's great. That's a good foot to start on. Okay, so that will conclude this meeting. Thank you all for joining. And you always know where to reach me if you have any questions about this project or anything else in the village. I'm happy to have those conversations offline.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Thanks a lot.
Michael. Thanks.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.